Help support AMTV by becoming a patron, an AMTV staff member, and following us over on Twitter. Hi there guys, it's Adam Martin here, and welcome back to another instalment of the Now Review. For today we're looking at Now 100 Hits 90s No.1s. So this album, ever since they announced it, I was really looking forward to. I love my 90s music, and a 90s album focusing on No.1s, and 100 No.1s at that. I thought that was a pretty cool idea. But first of all, that front cover, using the standard Now text, I'm surprised they didn't go for a more 90s style font for the number itself. That's something they've done in the past, or use maybe like the font they use on the Now dance albums. I thought that would have been more fitting perhaps. But nevertheless, I love the blue tones here and the sort of like electricity thing we've got going on over there. That is certainly very 90s, very of the era, so I'm glad we've got something that feels like it. But I thought they would have changed the font for sure, and of course they've got the No.1s scroll, which is the same as it was on the 80s album, although this one sadly does not contain a pop quiz, and it's not in a fancy box, so that's a shame. But as you can see, there is 100 tracks on this all-important track list here. Again, we'll look at them more in depth when I open it up. I hate this paragraph style, I think you all know that by now, but yeah, let's open it up and see what we got. Okay, so you got some George Michael, some Oasis, Take That, the Spice Girls, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, Robbie Williams. Also, see already from the first 8 tracks, you can tell they've gone for the wide breadth of 90s pop artists, starting early on, working the way to the end with stuff like Christina and Britney Spears. A Little Time by the Beautiful South, that's a great song. Wet, 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 Gabrielle. Oh, so many good songs on here. Would I Lie to You by Charles and Eddie? That is one of my favourite songs from the 90s. Oh yeah, the remix of Baby Come Back. That was always an interesting choice. Bombastic by Shaggy. They had to put Ice Ice Baby on here, even though it was 1990 just. And the last thing on here is Run DMC versus Jason Mewes with It's Like That. And it's a good song, It's Like That. I'll take that. So yeah, you got a nice mix moving from the pop to the more rap or pop rap style. Okay, CD2 kicks off with Saturday Night by Wigfield, one of my favourite dance songs of the era. Just a Little Bit by Gina G, our entry for the 1996 Eurovision. Mambo number 5, Young at Heart, the Shoop Shoop song. Honestly, this is speaking to me, man. This is my childhood right here. So, yeah, banging songs on there so far. Dr. Jones by Aqua, that's an interesting one. Aqua's mainly known for Barbie Girl. Dr. Jones was the follow-up, which apparently hit number 1. I thought Barbie Girl hit number 1, or maybe it's on here elsewhere, but I'm glad to see Dr. Jones get a bit of representation. Because We Want To by Billy, who's Billie Piper, of course, for those who don't know. Yes, she was a pop star. I Want It That Way by the Backstreet Boys, of course. Any Dream Will Do. Finishing off this one with Keep On Moving by 5. I thought 5 went into the early 2000s, perhaps they did. But yeah, another solid disc. Okay, kicking off CD3 with Tori Amos. You got Cher with Believe, my god. Fatboy Slim, Hanson, Dupe. Oh, I mean, we're getting into some later 90s stuff now. Let Me Be Your Fantasy, that is one of the best dance songs of the era. Please Don't Go. Dreamer, of course. Tragedy by Steps, who've got a new album coming out, by the way. The Out Here Brothers with Boom Boom Boom, which we all know. It's that song, a boom boom boom, let me hear you say away, or it's not the Venga Boys. Okay, CD4, you're kicking off with Healing Hands by Elton John. Now, that was actually off his 1989 album, which is called Sleeping with the Past, I think. And I think it was released as a double A-side with Sacrifice, and that went to number 1. So I'm very interested why they put that on there. And did it go number 1 in 1990? It must have done. It scraped on here, man. In steps, you've got Bewitched, you've got Take That with Relight My Fire, S Club 7, All Saints Again, LL Cool J, some names you don't see around anymore. Oh, Aqua is there again with Barbie Girl. Funny that the sequel song, Dr. Jones, actually appears first compared to Barbie Girl, which I'd argue is more well known. You got Oh Carolina by Shaggy, his second appearance on here too. Second appearance for Billy with Girlfriend on there. I prefer Because We Want To, but each to their own. And you have Enigma to finish with Sadness Part 1, which is such an interesting song because it mixes like Gregorian chant music with 90s dance rhythms, if you like. It's a really cool song. I highly recommend you check that out. CD5, the home stretch, you got Should I Stay or Should I Go by The Class, which I think originally came out in the late 70s, early 80s, but it got a renaissance in the early 90s. You've got U2, Lenny Kravitz, Manic Street Preachers. Babylon Zoo, Spaceman's on here, which actually was number 1 the week I was born, funnily enough. You got Meatloaf, The Righteous Brothers, Sinead O'Connor, great song that is. You got a Westlife song on here. Oh yes, Westlife were around in the 90s, right towards the end. You got Wet Wet Wet, Shakespeare's Sister Will Stay, beautiful song, Celine Dion, Robbie Williams. finishing with Whitney Houston and I Will Always Love You, probably one of her most iconic songs, and that stayed on number 1 for, oh god, weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. One of the panels here is actually the front cover without the Now logo, and this looks pretty cool. It's like a bonding of electricity, a mashing of energy. I don't know, just a really cool effect. I really like it. So, with that being the track list, what are we thinking? Well, it's certainly a good comprehensive look at the whole decade. I love that there's a wide breadth of songs right from 1990 all the way up until 1999. Well, part of me thinks they should have done, disc by disc in chronological, sort of like they did with the Decade album, but they've never really done that with these sorts of albums. They like to throw them all in. There's nothing wrong with that. I guess it's just after being teased with it in Decade, it'd be nice to have it here. There are some notable number 1s that I think aren't on here, unless I just missed them while skimming. The longest running number 1 in UK chart history isn't here, I don't think, which is Anything I Do, I'd Do It For You by Bryan Adams, which was 1991. It was on the charts for 16 weeks, and I don't think that's here. Rhythm is a Dancer by Snap, I don't think it's on here either, unless I missed it. That's obviously the theme song I use a lot. That hit number 1 here, I'm pretty sure. But I mean, you can't really complain. You're getting 100 songs that hit number 1 in this country, no less. So if anything, it's going to be a really fun trip down memory lane, especially if you're someone like me who grew up in the late 90s, early 2000s, but where a lot of this stuff was replayed on the radio, at school discos, that sort of thing. Where can you get this from? Well, might be a bit tricky. Obviously, at the time of this going out, we are currently in lockdown 2 here in the UK, and I've noticed a lot of supermarkets are not stocking essential items, which is completely valid. They're focusing on things that are essential to people. CDs aren't one of them, so if it's not in your supermarket, you'll have to turn to online, ordering from places like HMV, because HMV is only available online at the minute. I got mine from Amazon. But who is it for? Well, obviously, if you like your 90s music, if you love 90s pop, 90s dance, then this is certainly a great album for you. You're getting 100 songs, a great mix of songs, a great variety of artists, some of whom appear twice, for a good price. It's about £12, the usual 11, 12, 13. Give it 6 months, it'll probably come down to the 2 for 15 range in HMV. But honestly, out of all the 100 hits ones, this is fast becoming not my overall favourite. I think the Power Ballads one still takes that for me. It is all personal preference, of course, but I'd say this is coming up to be a very close second. But that is all for this instalment of the Now Review. Thank you very much for watching. As always, if you enjoyed, please remember to like this video and comment down below. Are you planning on picking this album up, or is it one you're going to give a miss? Please subscribe to the channel if you're brand new or you haven't subscribed already. And until the next one, I will see you guys next time. Thank you to our patrons for helping to support the show, and a special thank you to Macra, Hooks Media, Ben Freeman, Ethan Carberry-Holt, Bruce Danton, The Broken Kitsumanoid, to Bose Krotz, and Polsky Liz, our AMTV staff members.